Hi and welcome to this episode of Zeitgeist Podcast with Niklas and Flo. Hi, I'm Niklas.
Hi, I'm Flo.
Today we are going to talk about the journey from a normal employee to a businessman. So I'm going to interview you. It's been a few years, I think, but you have been normally employed before you started your own business. And maybe you could give us a bit of a background how this whole thing happened.
Yeah, actually by accident, to be honest. I think that sometimes you just need like the right timing and some luck. Obviously, you also need the willingness to really do something. As Nike is saying, just do it. But to be honest, it was also some kind of accident. I always liked working in some kind of office environment, and that's what I did before I started my own company. But at some point, the company was just sold where I was working, and I didn't found anything on time. So I came up with the idea and approached a friend of mine and asked him if he just wants to start his own agency with me together. And this is basically what we did. In Germany, we received for the first 6 months some kind of founders money, which was not big. We're talking about like $1,000 per month, but at least it was enough to pay some kind of bills, health insurance, stuff like this. Was what took a little bit the pressure away from me. And then we basically started from scratch, created our own homepage, and started doing some sales calls. Back then, we approached just online shops, e-commerce, and asked them if they want to hire us as their new agency. And this worked pretty well.
Yeah, that it sounds very interesting, and maybe there's a lesson already in it for startup founders. I mean, I'm more on the software side usually, and I like to build things up. And you are very sales focused, right? So you basically went out and tried to sell something. How did you do it? How did you come up with the services you were going to give?
So, the last job before we started our own agency, we already worked in the affiliate space, but usually as a publisher. So we had some kind of feeling how the affiliate industry looks and who are the players are in this industry. And we tried to figure out back then there was like some kind of register where you could check if an online shop already has an affiliate program or not. And we basically we called them and called them out that they don't have an affiliate program, and they should try it. It's a minimum of risk for them because you usually pay just commissions for sales. And we told them that we will handle it also for a little commission. And then we did some adjustments here and there to scale the company basically. After the first year, we hired our first employee. Until then, we worked from my kitchen table, and then we started to look out for our first office. We had our first employee, and then we just went from there.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting story. And then it built slowly, right? You built the agency business, but you were also, and I think that is what I always liked about you. You always look for other opportunities. Sideways. How did you come up with the next things to do?
When you work with a lot of professionals on a daily basis, you always get a sense of what are the new trends and where you might try to look a little bit deeper for informations. And since I actually came from the publisher side, it was just a matter of time to get reconnected with the publisher side anyhow. And this is what we did then in 2017. Built it basically a side company next to our agency where we tried to approach advertisers or brands as a publisher. And this is what we are doing up until today. In the meantime, we also started our own online shop. At some point, we sold our shares. I believe the online shop still exists. It was also interesting, not my cup of tea, to be honest, but I think it's interesting to see how everything plays together from all the different sides. So the first win was a really small one, actually. I always had like a couple of different check marks I wanted to do in my head. The first one was basically having a website and a presentation. The second one was just reaching out to the first client. And I thought it's just a matter of time. It's a numbers game. You're reaching out to clients. At some point, they want more information, basically like an email with a media kit or whatever. And then at some point, if you're reaching out enough people and enough people wants this email, at some point they will get back to you and ask for the first agreement. So this was like the first win, basically, having a signed agreement with a client. And then a couple days later, we earned our first commission. I believe it was something around €2.50. Nothing really to, even buy a coffee with. But it felt like pretty good, and it was a really big win in our minds back then.
I can understand. I mean, it's probably this point where somebody's paying for my service. Basically, I've gotten there, and then it probably progressed. And then how did you manage? Did it become a like easy cash flow positive business, or how long was it a hustle until things felt safer? Do you feel safe today?
I feel safer today than in 2014, for sure. But I will never feel too comfortable because at some point you're getting lazy, and this is something what I try to avoid. So I try to always be on a hustle. But back then, I don't know. It's really hard to tell because we made enough to live with that, but not on a really good standard. So we were really like trying to save money at any cost. I remember the first industry event in Cologne back then. We traveled by bus, and it was like the cheapest opportunity for us to attend this event. And we even shared a hostel with 3 other people we didn't even know. And then we missed the bus back to our hometown, and we had to pay for another bus ticket. I believe it was like $60 in total. And this hurt back then, like really much.
Crazy. Yeah, and that's how. I mean, a little lesson. If somebody now sits there, they have a 9 to 5 thing, maybe it's nicer to walk off on their own. What would you tell them?
You mean to convince someone who is working 9 to 5 to start their
No,
own
if they
business?
wanted to do the jump, what would you tell them? Is it something like,
I mean, it depends a little bit on what you really want to do. But I guess, if you want to play it safe, you can try to, to make it work besides your main job. Let's say you want to, I don't know, open like a little storefront, something, obviously you need to save some money for that. But if let's say you want to, sell something on Etsy, you can do it, next to your main business and just see how people are taking your product. Because to be honest, no matter what you want to do, you need time, which I had back then because I was just fired from my old job. And like in a perfect world, some kind of start money to do whatever you want to do.
yeah. Yeah, and that's maybe a good lesson, right? Not for everybody. It depends probably also where you are in your career, but you don't always have to jump in the first place. If I get you right, you can also at least evaluate whether what you're thinking about is really working before you jump out. Because then life gets very hard. It's not like there's very little room for error.
I mean, the thing is, I was never really disappointed with my jobs. I mean, I had like 4 or 5 different employees, and I was, with my knowledge back then, always happy with what I did. And I would probably do the same thing now, 10 years later, if the companies weren't sold, or if there were a reason for me to switch the job. So I guess it's sometimes it's really you learn from job to job what you might do different, and yeah.
And then maybe as a last question, what is next? I know you always look for new opportunities. We are doing this podcast together. What are you dreaming of today?
I don't know. I believe that at some point um, I will do something with influencer marketing. I don't know how this will look like. Maybe you ask me this in, let's say, 6 months. But this is definitely something I see some potential.
Yeah, that's
And
very interesting. I'll definitely ask again. I think I'll see you around. This was our episode on Zeitgeist Podcast on Flo's steps from employee to businessman. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe.
all right, bye bye.